Vamos entonces, tenemos una nueva invitada, es un honor tener acá a Blessing Nnachi, que ella me corrige bien cómo es el nombre. Blessing viene desde Canadá, desde Toronto, desde Google de Toronto, y nos va a estar contando algo muy poderoso y es cómo crear esa carrera, cómo crear eso que queremos hacer, pero teniéndonos a nosotros como centro, estando con nosotros mismos en el centro de esa creación del proyecto que vamos a hacer. Esta sesión va a tener una particularidad y es que es en inglés y Silvi, que está acá, Silvi hace parte del equipo de voluntarias de She Knows, nos va a ayudar a hacer la traducción. Además, Blessing nos puso las diapositivas en español y en inglés para poder ayudar a todo este proceso, así que es una conferencia súper poderosa, como todas las otras, con contenidos, estamos con contenidos y mujeres y todos generando demasiado poder, demasiado conocimiento. Así que bienvenidos y les doy ya la palabra a Blessing y a Silvi. Bienvenida, Blessing. Welcome, Blessing, and thank you for being here with us today. So you have the audience for you.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you, Sylvie, for being here. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing. I'm a regional manager from the Google Cloud team. Before I get started, Anna, is it okay if I just present? Okay. I'm just going to put a very brief presentation before I talk about why we're all here today. Give me 1 second. I'm more familiar with Google Meet than Zoom. So there we go. All right. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I figured it out. I apologize for that. Okay, fantastic. So like I was saying, when I got the opportunity to speak at this event, I was very excited because there's something that I've been spending a lot of time thinking and researching about in my career, and that has been how to build a career that is intentional and that takes your career away from feeling like a chore or feeling like a job to something that you're really proud of and something that you connect with on a personal and an emotional level. Full disclaimer, this is my first time working with a translator, so there might be a few kinks along the way, so be patient with me and Sylvie, but I'll give Sylvie a chance to jump in.
Thank you, Blessing, for letting me be your interpreter. Ok, entonces Blessing está muy emocionada y está muy grata por tener la oportunidad de estar en esta conferencia. Ella investiga y ha buscado bastante de tecnología y pues su presentación es acerca de cómo tener una carrera intencional que esté conectada con tus emociones y con tu carrera personal y profesional, que está alineada con esos valores tuyos.
Like I said at the beginning, my name is Blessing. I run the delivery excellence practice for Google Cloud. And I thought I would start by, talking a little bit about myself. I'm married. I have a teen son. I have a 15-year-old son. I've been working in the tech industry now for going on 18 years. 10 of those years have been at Google and Microsoft, so 2 large multinational companies. I have been a leader and a manager on our leadership team for a very long time, managing teams of various sizes. I've had a team of 2 people, I've had a team of 24 people, I've had teams in between, and I have experience working in the region, North America, as well as internationally in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. The important thing for this audience, though, is I spend a lot of my time, I volunteer a lot of my time coaching and mentoring women. I stopped counting, but at last count, there were over 50 women around building their careers and overcoming obstacles to growing their careers.
Ok, en primer lugar, es importante pues contarles acerca de mí. Estoy casada y tengo un hijo, además cuento con más de 17 años de experiencia. 10 de ellos ha sido en el área de la tecnología, trabajando en empresas como Google y Microsoft, dos compañías bastante grandes. También es relevante mencionar que he dirigido equipos de diferentes tamaños, de más de 24 personas y así, tanto pequeños como grandes. Además, he trabajado en diferentes regiones, incluyendo EMEA, Norteamérica, África. Por último, hay que añadir que he tenido la oportunidad de entrenar y asesorar a más de 50 mujeres de distintas edades y etapas profesionales.
Thank you, Sylvie. So what are we going to be talking about over the next few minutes? Really, the focus of the talk is really workshopping a framework around how you can build a career and create momentum for your career without making too many sacrifices. This is a challenging thing to do for a lot of women, and there's a lot of reasons behind that, which we'll go into in a second. But as a living example of someone who's been able to do this successfully, I think it's important to build a career, but also create momentum within your career so that you see a trajectory of growth and a path forward for yourself.
Ok, entonces quiero dejar en claro que el foco más importante de esta ponencia es la estructura de cómo crear una carrera sin muchos sacrificios. Es decir, es importante crear ese momentum para estar conectadas con nuestro ser en nuestra trayectoria.
Before we go forward, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the sacrifices that I mentioned on the previous slide. There's a wide number of research articles and blog posts and news articles, especially during the pandemic. But some of the key things that are consistent for people who identify as women who are also trying to build careers is some of the research showed that, you know, women and men actually go into colleges and universities at about the same rate, so 50-50 in terms of the size of the population. But as those women and men come into the workforce and kind of start to get older and decide to have children or raise a family, a lot of women start to opt out. And that's because women are usually largely disproportionately impacted by socioeconomic factors. So what that means is women are the ones usually taking care of the home. Obviously, the ones who have children are responsible for raising the children. In cases where there's people in the family who need help, the elderly, people that are dependents, women, again, are usually expected to step in and either take care of aging parents or members of the family who need additional assistance. And if a woman were to decide to focus on her career, there's often a biological, social, or cultural cost. In a lot of our cultures, there's almost a negative impact if you say, you know what, I can't do this because I want to, you know, do something on the personal front or on my professional front. There's it's almost frowned upon. And so women usually have to balance the, you know, leaning in and being available for your family and your community and building a career that they love, that they're energized by, and that they feel that they can grow in.
Ok, entonces antes de seguir, quisiera mencionar los sacrificios que pasan las mujeres a la hora de comenzar a crear esta carrera que tanto aman. Y es que tanto hombres como mujeres que van a la universidad pues tienen la oportunidad de crecer pues en aprendizaje y etcétera. Sin embargo, las mujeres al momento de tener hijos, de crear hogar, tienen que poner un stand-by, tienen que parar un momento porque pues está estereotipado que las mujeres pues cuidan el hogar, que se encargan de los miembros de la familia, en cuestiones de hay problemas ahí. Entonces, en ese momento es donde las mujeres pues se sienten más inseguras a seguir creciendo en su carrera y piensan que no pueden, que digamos hay un costo, digamos que las mujeres pagan a menudo un costo biológico, social y cultural por cada decisión que toman, y cuando llega esta edad fértil y la crianza y criar a las personas, a los seres queridos cuando hay enfermedades, pues las mujeres tienden a dejar de un lado, a poner aparte un lado su carrera profesional porque sienten que no pueden.
I don't know, Anna, if I'm allowed to do this, but at this point, I wanted to pause and see if anyone in the audience wanted to, come off mute and talk about this particular thing. Have you been in a situation where you've had to make a choice between your career and something on the personal front, and usually those two things are conflicting? And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's okay too.
Yes, let's do it. Sylvie, translate that, please.
Can you repeat once again, please?
Sure. Does anyone in the audience want to come off mute and talk about a time in their lives or in their careers where they've had to balance personal and professional challenges and what choice they made at that time?
Ok. ¿Puede alguno, no sé, encender su micrófono y contar acerca de un momento donde hayan sentido esa desproporción entre la vida personal y profesional?
Un momento en el que hayan tenido que elegir entre ambos, en que hayan tenido que mirar si es uno o si es el otro.
Hola. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Margarita, and I'm a social communicator and journalist from Colombia, and I used to work in the website field and communications there, but I had to make a decision at what time, and I moved to Canada with my family. So in that point, I choose them over my career.
Yeah. And I have a similar, thank you, Margarita, for sharing. I have a similar story. In 2017, my family made the choice to move to Canada as well. And at the same time, I had an opportunity to become a chief data officer with a bank. It was a massive promotion. It was a huge opportunity. But I also wanted to make sure that I was there for my family and there for my son. And I chose them in a similar way. And I'm sure that there's a lot of women who, have similar stories. Do you want to translate, Sylvie, before I see if anyone else wants to come up and chat? You're muted.
Me pasó algo similar. De hecho, en 2017 pues mi familia se trasladó a Canadá y además pues me ascendieron, ¿no? Tuve una oportunidad para convertirme en un chief director en un banco, pero quería estar con mi familia, entonces los elegí a ellos sobre pues lo profesional.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about for myself and Margarita here are how you can bring your life and your career together and not feel like you're missing out on one or the other. The reason why this is important is we will often have to make choices that may seem to favor more of our personal or family lives and more of our career lives at different times, and having a framework for making those decisions in a way that makes you feel happy and content with the choices you're making is super important.
Ok, entonces aquí Margarita, lo que vamos a, digamos, comenzar a ver es cómo podemos juntar tanto la vida profesional como la vida personal para tener un balance sin dejar de un lado una, sino tener ambas balanceadas.
Okay, this is this is almost like ground rules. And I'm going to talk about a bullet point and give Sylvia a chance to chime in because this is really important. These are rules that I believe are foundational to having the framework work for you. You can have the framework, but if you don't have these ground rules, then it's just not going to work because it's going to challenge a lot of the things that you think or believe or do today.
Ok, entonces, aquí hay algunas de las reglas que yo considero súper importantes para poder crear esta estructura y tener una carrera profesional y personal balanceada.
The first thing is your mindset and your belief system. What you believe will create your boundaries. Oprah says you need to think about the grandest, biggest, most ambitious vision that you can have for your life. But as women, or people who identify as women, we are oftentimes socialized to create natural boundaries for ourselves. And challenging some of those mindsets and those belief systems are going to be important as we move forward.
Ok, entonces la forma de pensar y nuestra mentalidad son nuestros limitantes. Entonces es súper importante ver cómo nosotros pensamos, ya que generalmente las mujeres tendemos a crear más límites por todo lo sociocultural. Entonces la forma en que pensamos es la manera en que creamos límites.
The second thing is change. This is important because we're in a period of rapid change. A lot of us may have heard about the recent explosion around AI or the recent economic issues or the pandemic just a few years ago. A lot of people say change is inevitable. I say change is good. Change is good because change is an external force and a trigger that forces you to rethink what you're doing, rethink where you're spending and how you're spending your time, and adjust and pivot to respond to whatever it is that's happening in your life or in the world.
Ok, la siguiente cosa es el cambio. El cambio es constante y, por ejemplo, últimamente hemos escuchado mucho de la explosión de las IA y también del cambio o la fluctuación económica. Entonces, el cambio es más que todo una constante de la vida. Digamos, en lugar de resistirnos a él, el cambio es una oportunidad para crecer y para aprender cosas nuevas y ir un paso a la vez. Seguir gracias al cambio.
The next thing is learning. Learning is an underrated skill because when we start out, we go to university or college or some sort of school and we think, okay, I've learned, now I'm going to start my career. But learning how to learn is a skill that's going to serve you. So as you grow your career and you evolve, the industry is constantly changing. The technology is constantly changing. The things that you have to do also will change. And so building a skill of knowing how you learn and retain information needs to be in place.
Okay, lo siguiente es aprender. Bueno, el aprendizaje es muy, digamos, relativo en las universidades. Sin embargo, no se nos enseña cómo aprender a aprender. Y aquí Leslie nos dice que aprender a aprender es súper importante, ya que todo está en constante cambio y adaptarse es muy importante. Entonces hay que aprender a aprender y retener cada cambio que se está realizando para pues ir con el mundo, ir con el movimiento que sucede hoy en día.
The next thing here is when it comes to building your career, there's no destination. There's no end state. The journey is the goal. And the reason I say that is, you could say, oh, I want to get promoted. And then you get promoted. Then what? What happens? You're going to want to do something else. And so there's never a point. We shouldn't think about this as there's a point in which you've arrived, because there's always going to be the next challenge or the next goal. And so focus on the journey, focus on playing the long game.
Ok. Lo siguiente es, nunca hay un destino final, siempre hay un camino, nunca hay un destino final, digamos, quiero ser ascendido, pero luego ¿qué? Luego voy a querer otra cosa más, luego voy a querer otro objetivo, entonces la meta es el camino, no hay un destino real en nuestra trayectoria.
The final thing is you need a tribe. And a tribe, I define a tribe as a group of people who are in your corner that you can always rely on. And this can be your family, it can be friends, it can be coaches, mentors, sponsors, it really doesn't matter. But you need to have a small group, 2 to 5 people that you respect, who you know have your best interests at heart, that you can always lean on for support.
Ok, la siguiente cosa es tener un activo, una comunidad, y defino tribu como un grupo de personas que están ahí para apoyarte y en las cuales te puedes sentir apoyado y puedes obtener algo a cambio, que están relacionadas en el nicho para que desarrolles esas habilidades.
Great. I talked about this, so I'm going to skip ahead to the framework. This is a framework. It's not really fancy. It's 3 circles on the slide, but I'm going to talk about the 3 elements in a second.
Ok, esta es la estructura, no es súper fancy, simplemente son 3 elementos que vamos a hablar a continuación.
The first thing is values. How many, show of hands, is anyone familiar with Simon Sinek and Start With Why, his book Start With Why?
¿Hay alguien que relaciona a Sigmund y a... can you repeat the last name, please?
Start With Why. Let me put it in the chat. Start With Why is the title of the book. He's a TEDx speaker. He's quite famous. He does a lot of work with large corporations.
Él es un ponente en TED y tiene bastante impacto. ¿Alguien lo conoce?
So Simon, in his book, he talks about your value system and your core purpose. And so when I think about the beginning of a journey of designing a career that you love, the first thing that you need to center on is, what do you care about? What do you value? And there's some questions on the slide here. I'm not going to bleed the slide that can help you start to think about what the answers to those are. But what are the things that are core to you, that energize you, that make you think that your life is worth living and your life has purpose?
Aquí quiero saber qué es lo que más te importa, cuáles son tus valores más importantes, los que más importan en tu vida y los que no, digamos, no puedes poner aparte, los que forman tu propósito.
The second piece of the framework is resources. And this is interesting because you would hear things like, you need to build a network, which is true, but a network is just one of the many resources that you need. And so the resources that you need to think about when you're designing your life and your career is, what do you know? Who do you know? What can you learn? Who are the people that you have access to, and where are the areas that you have support? But the more important concept here is, what are the tools, people, resources, assets that are available to you as you start to design your career?
Ok, ahora con los recursos, aquí es muy importante, digamos, crear una red, pero para eso necesitamos saber qué sabes, qué puedes aprender, a quién conoces, los recursos externos que tú tienes para crear esa red.
And the final piece is, where is the opportunity? I have the word needs here, but it's really thinking about, where is the opportunity? Where does your team have gaps? Or where does the business or the industry that you're in have gaps? Or what is happening in your community that's a problem that you can solve. Another good one is, what is the thing that everybody knows needs to get done, but nobody wants to do it, but you think that you have the skills to be able to get it done?
Ok, ahora en las necesidades, digamos, ¿dónde están las oportunidades? ¿Qué oportunidades tienes? Digamos, saber cuál es tu industria, cómo va tu industria, cuáles son los desarrollos recientes. Digamos, también aquí es importante cuáles son los problemas que necesitan solución, pero que las demás personas no le han dado.
When we bring all these things together, you have to have all three elements for you to be able to design a career that you love. If you have only, say, values and you find an opportunity, yes, there'll be an opportunity to do the work, but because you care about the work and there's an opportunity to do the work, but you don't have the resources, you don't have the skills, you don't have the access, so that's going to be just out of reach.
Ok, entonces para tener esta estructura de carrera, para obtener la carrera que tú realmente quieres, construir la carrera que realmente quieres, pues en el momento en que solo tienes los valores y las necesidades, sí va a haber la oportunidad de hacer algo, pero está fuera de tu alcance porque no tienes los recursos necesarios para llevar esto a cabo.
What if you have, it's something you care about and you have the skills, but there's no opportunity? Either the combination is not valuable, or it's not considered valuable by your industry, by your community, by your team. That's going to be frustrating because you're going to have all these great ideas, but then there will be no outlet, there will be no avenue or platform for you to perform.
Ok, ahora cuando tienes, digamos, cuando tienes algo que te importa, tienes los recursos, pero no, digamos que tu industria no tiene como, no le encuentra valor a aquello que estás haciendo, pues va a haber esta sensación de desmotivación. Y pues digamos que va a haber esa ausencia de necesidades socioeconómicas de impacto.
And the final piece is a cross-section of, you have the resources, you have the skills, and there is an opportunity. That's a good place, but it's not a great place, because that's the point where it's just a job. It feels like it's boring. It feels like drudgery. It feels like a chore. You can get a paycheck, but there's no feeling of fulfillment. There's no alignment with your values. And so it's really, really hard to motivate yourself if those are the only two things that are available.
Ok, digamos, cuando tienes los recursos, las habilidades, las oportunidades, pues sí, es muy bueno, pero digamos que no hay un alineamiento entre lo que es tu trabajo y tu vida personal. Por ende, te vas a sentir aburrido, vas a sentir que esta carrera no te llena por completo y no va a tener sentido realmente.
For you to have the agency and the autonomy to design and own your career, you have to bring all three things together. There needs to be an integration of your values, the things that you have access to, the resources and capabilities that you have, and socioeconomic opportunity. Not just economic opportunity, because this is not all about money or earning a paycheck, but there has to be a need that you can solve, and it has to be a need that you identify, but a lot of other people connect with. And so when you think about it, it's not about just saying yes to opportunities, but it's also what you say no to. Like Margarita shared, it's what you say, okay, I'm going to choose my family now because that's what makes sense, but I'm choosing my family intentionally, and I don't feel like I'm missing out because I'm still aligned with my values.
Ok, entonces cuando tenemos la autonomía y el poder de crear una carrera que nos llene, hay la integración de valores. Digamos que aquí encontramos las oportunidades socioeconómicas, también debe haber una necesidad para resolver cuando estamos construyendo esta carrera, y también deben haber personas que se conecten, como Margarita dijo, ella eligió su familia encima de la carrera profesional porque pues porque realmente dijo, no, prefiero mi familia a mi carrera profesional porque es algo que ahorita me conecta, me alinea con mi ser y por ende les elijo a ellos.
The other thing that I want to mention here is the integration is not a one-time event. So you don't integrate your career, your values, your resources, and the opportunity once. It's a continuous process. It's continuous because, like we said at the beginning, change is constant. And so what that means is you're learning every day. So your skills, your resources are increasing. The economic landscape is changing every day. So the opportunities are constantly changing. The only thing that should stay fairly constant in this three-way framework is your values. The things you care about usually stay the same, and they're core to you, they're core to your identity. But you have to continuously make sure that these three things are working together and working in a synergistic way. And so this is something you would check in with yourself. I recommend at least once a quarter to just make sure that where you are and what you're doing is aligned with these three things.
Ok, entonces aquí quiero mencionar que la integración no solo se lleva a cabo una vez, la integración es un continuo proceso y como dijimos anteriormente, el cambio es constante y las oportunidades van cambiando con el tiempo y se van presentando de maneras diferentes. Por ende, es importante aquí es mantener los valores, tus valores que te mantienen alineados con tu ser para pues mantener, digamos que esa estructura bien alineada. Los tres deben ser, digamos que los tres deben funcionar en conjunto, no solo uno u otro, sino los tres en conjunto. Es importante pues mantener tus valores alineados.
Okay, so I've said a lot and I've shared the framework, but I thought that I will bring it home for all of you by using my life as an example. I shared a story earlier about a time when I had to pick my family over a really great opportunity. But what I'll walk through here in a second is some of the things that are in my value statement, some of the resources that I have, and how I map those to opportunities that are valuable, but also provide me personal fulfillment.
Ok, como, bueno, me gustaría contar mi historia, hacer esta comparación con mi historia y como dije, yo tuve que elegir, bueno, quise elegir a mi familia sobre mi carrera profesional, sobre este ascenso que me iban a dar y pues en este caso pues tuve que establecer una estabilidad en el hogar y pues mantener eso.
The first thing is, one of the things that's really important to me is stability in the home. I came from a very turbulent childhood, and so it was important for me to create a safe and stable home environment for my family. But also important to me to be credible as a professional and to be taken seriously by my team and by my customers.
Ok, bueno, digamos que primero para mí es muy importante tener una estabilidad en el hogar, de donde yo vengo siempre hubo una estabilidad. También es muy importante crear credibilidad en la parte profesional y pues una constante mejora e innovación.
On the resources side, I've been fortunate enough to be very well educated. I have a few degrees. I also have a very strong professional network. And I said at the beginning, some of my international experience has also been very valuable.
Ok, en la parte de los recursos he sido muy afortunada de tener una muy buena educación. Tengo bastantes diplomados. También tengo una sólida red profesional y tengo experiencia internacional en tecnología.
The reason why this is working out is because we're in a time where technology is really there's a lot of need and opportunity in technology, and so the combination of the things that I care about, being a credible professional, creating a stable home environment, and my knowledge and experience has created several opportunities for me in some of these areas here.
Ok, y bueno, digamos que en la parte de tecnología pues hay mucha oportunidad para crecer y esto me ha permitido pues traer digamos que la estabilidad en el hogar más junto a mi educación y a las redes que tengo, pues, pues bastantes oportunidades para crecer en el campo.
Now you might be saying, oh, well, Blessing, you've had a lot of experience. You've been doing this for a long time. So naturally, you have a lot of opportunities.
Que algunos se podrán pues preguntar, pero Blessing, pues tienes mucha experiencia profesional y has tenido muchas oportunidades.
But it wasn't always that way. So I thought I would show you a journey of how I started out. And remember at the beginning, I talked about sacrifices and making choices. I didn't get to this point overnight. So there was a journey, and at each step, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, because I want to leave time for questions. I'm going to talk about the trade-offs that I had to intentionally make to continue to do work that was personally fulfilling to me.
Ok, pero eso no siempre ha sido así, las oportunidades no siempre han estado ahí. Por eso pues siempre ha sido, digamos, al principio he tenido sacrificios y he tenido que pues pasar por cuestiones más difíciles que siempre pasa al principio.
At the beginning, I'm going to use a laser pointer. At the beginning of my career, my value system was always the same. I wanted a safe home, stable home, but I wanted to be credible. I wanted to do work that was innovative, that was new, which was why I came into tech.
Ok, al principio pues los valores siempre han sido los mismos, la estabilidad en el hogar. Sin embargo, pues quería generar más credibilidad en mi área profesional.
So what I did at this point was I was fresh out of university. My credibility was low because I was just starting to build my career. And so what I did was I focused on building my knowledge, building my network, building the things that I knew, building my experience. But I did it in a field that I cared about, and I did it without sacrificing on the home front. And so I made sure that I was present. At that point, I didn't take any international opportunities, even though there were a few, because I knew that I wanted to get to a point where I could have a lot more flexibility before making those big moves.
Ok, entonces en este tiempo acaba de salir pues de la universidad, entonces tenía pues poca credibilidad. Y lo que quería era construir pues más redes, más conocimiento, pero sin dejar mis valores de lado, es decir, la estabilidad en el hogar. Entonces en este momento no tomé como tal un paso muy grande internacionalmente porque pues no quería tampoco dejar de un lado pues mis valores.
As my career continued to grow, I was gaining a reputation. I was building a strong brand. I had a young son, and there was, some personal upheaval in my life. And so, I was in a place where one of the key things that I cared about was being threatened. And so what I did at this point in my career was I really focused on investing in relationships. I got several mentors. I focused on building myself, working on my mind, but also creating around myself a tribe and a support system to bring stability back to my personal life.
Ok, como mi carrera iba creciendo, entonces comenzaba a crear una mejor conexión entre relaciones, comenzaba a tomar más en serio pues lo de crecer en conocimientos y pues crecer mi credibilidad en el trabajo, en el área profesional, pero pues ahí podría comenzar a haber una falta en lo que era la estabilidad en el hogar.
And this right here is where I am right now. I'm in a really good spot. I am respected on my team. I'm doing a lot of really great work at Google. You know, on the family side, my son is, 2 years away from college. So, he needs me in a different way, but not in the same way that he needed me when he was younger. And so what I'm focused on right now is scaling my impact, right? Doing things like this, being here with you all today, thinking about how to invest and give back to my community, how to invest and give back to causes and organizations that I care about.
Ok, luego pues en la estabilidad en el hogar, pues igualmente mi hijo iba creciendo y pues la manera en la cual me iba necesitando era diferente, entonces comencé a tener un impacto mucho mayor en lo que era profesionalmente, comencé a invertir pues en diferentes recursos para investigar, digamos, la siguiente generación de mujeres líderes y así pues guiarlos y crecer la credibilidad.
Sorry, Sylvie.
Okay.
Are you done? Okay. And so, I'm also kind of acknowledging that this is going to continue, right? I'm going to continue learning. I'm going to continue growing. The business is going to keep changing. AI is going to change a lot of things for a lot of people. But I don't have anxiety because I know how to learn. I know how to keep building my skills. I have the right background to continue building myself.
Ok, en este punto pues soy consciente de que igualmente todo va a seguir cambiando, de que todo va a seguir cambiando y que gracias a mi background, a mi repertorio, a mis conocimientos, pues me voy a ir adaptando y voy a ir aprendiendo del proceso.
Okay, so that was a lot. And I want to leave a few minutes for questions, Anna, but I just wanted to leave you all with a few things. Building and designing a career is like designing a house. You have the initial design and you build the house, but you have to maintain the house. So you need to carve out time every 3 to 6 months to plan and update your plan. One quick thing here is we have very busy lives. Not planning only when things are going bad is the recommendation. So plan when things are going good, because when things are going bad, it's easier for you to make knee-jerk emotional decisions, as opposed to when things are going good is easier for you to be objective and think long-term.
Ok, entonces aquí me gustaría dejar en claro que, digamos, diseñar tu carrera profesional es como diseñar una casa. Primero debes planearla, primero debes planear como su estructura antes pues, de construirla. Entonces, pues aquí digamos que todos solemos tener vidas ocupadas y por ende la planeación hace que las decisiones sean mucho más sencillas.
The other thing is, I talked about this previously, include a plan for learning. What do you need to learn? Every year I create a learning plan for myself. What are the new things that I need to get familiar with?
Ok, aquí pues es muy importante, como dije en las previas diapositivas, es tener un plan para aprender. Digamos, yo planeo cada año qué quiero aprender para pues seguir creciendo, estar en constante aprendimiento.
The final thing here, this two, I'll talk about this two together, is do not think about the needs and the opportunities only within the context of your current team, your current company, or your current location. Think very broadly and have an elevator pitch for what that is, because we meet new people every day. You need to be very quickly able to say, this is who I am, this is what I can do, this is what I'm interested in. to anyone, really. You might run into your CEO in the elevator. You might have lunch with a VP or director. You want to be very, very concise on having that pitch for what you need, because you don't know where you're going to get sponsorship from.
Ok, lo último es siempre, pues no pensar solo las necesidades y oportunidades que están sucediendo en tu empresa, sino siempre tener un elevator speech para el siguiente paso, porque cualquier día puedes estar sentado con un VP, con un CEO, y es una gran oportunidad para presentar aquella solución. Entonces, siempre tener preparado un elevator speech.
Okay, so that's my pitch. What happens now? What are the next steps? Do an assessment, create a value system, understand where your resources are, understand where the opportunities are.
Ok, ya tengo mi elevator speech, entonces, ¿ahora qué? Digamos que hay que hacer una evaluación, qué es lo que valoras, a qué tienes acceso, dónde están las oportunidades.
The second thing is decide what your discomfort budget is. This is important because I talked about sacrifices, and you will need to make trade-offs, and there's going to always be an opportunity cost for whatever path you take. You need to decide what are the negotiables and the non-negotiables for you upfront, so that you are able to make decisions that don't feel like you are losing out or hurting yourself.
Ok, ahora decide cuál es tu límite de tolerancia a la incomodidad, es decir, aquí es muy importante los sacrificios, hay que ser consciente que hay sacrificios que toca hacerlos y saber cuáles son los negociables y no negociables. Para de este modo, digamos que el hacer una decisión, el momento que haces una decisión, no te sientas, no tengas malos sentimientos o te sientas insegura acerca de ellos.
The third thing is commit to the plan. When you come up with the plan, be focused. Do not get distracted. There's going to be several things that will try to distract you, but you need to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing.
Ok, lo siguiente es comprométete con el plan. Digamos, aquí es súper importante estar enfocado en ya el plan y no te distraigas, porque generalmente van a salir distracciones en cualquier momento. Entonces aquí es estar comprometido con el plan.
And the final thing here is find ways to make the gaps bearable. Your career is a multi-decade journey. There will be high highs, there will be low lows, there will be mediums. There will always be gaps. There will always be things that you wish you could do or you wish you didn't have to do. And so back to the values, resources, and opportunities, find a way to use that to create an experience for you that is not terrible. And so, you know, we're out of time. I could give a few examples, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. Encuentra las maneras de hacer soportables las brechas y las dificultades que se presenten en el proceso. Aquí es muy importante regresar a esa estructura que ya se ha hecho de valores, necesidades y los recursos para encontrar maneras de que el proceso no sea difícil y poder sobrellevar esas brechas o dificultades.
All right, there's just 3 minutes left on the clock here, but I did want to, you know, save some time for questions, comments. If anyone wants to come off mute and ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it to the best of my ability.
Aquí es un momento pues para preguntas. Si alguno quiere abrir micrófonos, lo puede hacer libremente o quiere decirle algo a Blessing.
I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
I have a background from Colombia, but when I moved here, it has been very difficult for me to find a position with the experience that I have. So what can I do here, like to get like like to get a job that I really want, right? Because my kids are already grown up and I need to do something right now.
That's a great question, Margarita. I can't go in detail in 2 minutes, but one of the things that I have done and I found to be helpful is look for opportunities to volunteer your time in roles that are either similar or adjacent to where your experience is. And so you talked about your experience in website design, and I think you said marketing. And so you could offer your marketing skills at your local community center for free. What that does for you is that you start to meet people who have jobs in other companies or in other industries. And especially for Canada, your network is invaluable. And so it's really, really referrals and word of mouth that will give people, the comfort with giving you a chance. But if you want to chat more, find me on LinkedIn. Let's get together and brainstorm.
Perfect. I'll do it.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
No worries. We're at time. Anna, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed sharing some of this with you. If there are any follow-ups or any questions, you can send them by email. I'll be happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Blessing. This was so inspiring and so helpful. So thank you very much for your time and for being here with us today.
Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.